everyone. You are welcome to the direction. One more time. You all know we do this every last Saturday of the month. Every year, there's a topic that we pick and we deal with it. Okay, so this year, throughout the whole year, we are talking about growth. For those of you that just joined, I want you to take 1 minute to just share the link to a friend, bring a friend to come on and just listen, right? But under growth as the general uh, um, team, we have sub teams under the word growth. And the last time I think I made a definition of what I feel or I think or I know growth is, which cuts across GROWTH. Number one, grow in God. Number two, grow in revelations. Number three, grow in order. For the W, grow in wisdom. The T, grow in truth. And the last one, which is the H, grow in habits. So God, revelation, order, wisdom, truth, and habits. And under habits, I feel in wisdom and order and with God, um, I feel one of the most important topics that need to be discussed here on earth, so far as we all have flesh and blood running through us, is money. Okay.
Yep.
So today we'll be talking about money, and we've announced this a couple of times in our prayer sessions. It's interesting that for believers like us, the Bible talks about money more than prayer in the Bible, but people don't know. Yeah, there are more scriptures in the Bible about money than prayer. But sometimes we underplay that or we joke with that. Today I have like somebody that I have come to know and I've been following for over years now. I'm sure he himself, he doesn't know. I've been following him over 3 years now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 3 years, and I've not just been a follower, but somebody that I've been learning from his posts, his platforms. Sometimes there are some things that I am not so clear about, and sometimes I just go there and I realize he has posted something about it. And one of the days I decided to send him a DM and ask him a question about something that I wasn't so much clear about. And God being so good, he responded and he gave me a very good, simple, straightforward answer that actually cleared my mind from a lot of the things that I was worried about. So, as most of you know, we don't just bring anybody on to talk to us, but people that we know that it's the right time to bring them on. So I think this is a time when I was putting down like the speakers for the year, I knew he was the one that I should bring on to do this. And immediately I sent him the message. He said, "Let's do it." I was like, "Okay, cool." God is still answering prayers. Like,
Amen.
yeah,
Amen.
God is still answering prayers. And by the grace of God, finally we have him here, Dr. Charles. Dr. Charles, right? Did I
Correct.
mention it right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to talk about money, different dimensions, different various aspect of money, but the subject of money is big. So he's going to handle it from the point that we I hope we all get to learn something from it. So grab your iPads, your notebooks, grab something to take some notes. Go into the note aspect of your phone. Use that to put on some few things before I even introduce him. Before I read a little bit about him to introduce him. He's going to be making some utterances, instructions, directions on the direction that would direct your life. Am I rhyming right there?
Amen. Amen. Nice.
But I know you're going to be blessed. The direction basically we started about 3 years ago, and the main goal is just like the name goes, direction. A lot of people in life are making it. They are making advancement. They are making progress in various areas that God has called them into. But when I think about all that, my biggest question was, okay, so how are these people also directing other people to make it in that same path? And that is how I was inspired to start this. Okay. And few of them I spoke about it in my new book, Winning Wisdom Conversation, and it's been a blessing. So we all come up here to be directed. That's why you see different kind of people here. You see doctors here, you see lawyers here, you see musicians here, you see pastors here, you see
Hmm.
so for everybody that comes up, um, I believe it's one of the good things to do. Everybody you meet in life is a teacher, and
Mm.
every day is a classroom. What do I mean by that? Before I introduce the speaker, a child can teach you within the day. A
Correct.
grown up can teach you within the day. There are things that you can learn from little kids. Um, and if you are graced to wake up in the morning, I always say that the first miracle of life is to go to sleep and wake up.
Mm.
That is the first miracle of life. It's not the food you eat or the water you drink. Just going to sleep and waking up, it's a blessing. The next one is the people that you have in your life that are helping you, directing you. So everybody you meet in life is a teacher, and every day is a classroom. When it comes to freedom, I always say there are four types of freedom that you all need, or we all need. Number one, the freedom of your time. Number two, the freedom of your money. And today we'll be talking about money. We're going to listen to him. Number three, the freedom of relationships. And number four, the freedom of purpose to fulfill that which you want to accomplish in life. Um, so it's always good to find that thing that will give you that access to that freedom that you need in life. And every day we strive for that. We do mistakes, we learn from it. Sometimes it's hard truth that you have to take from people that are close to you, that you're learning from, and you have to swallow it as a bitter pill. So who is Dr. Charles? I'm going to go straight to the point. Dr. Charles Boadu is a transformational financial coach and the founder of CBF Financial Coach LLC. Dr. Boadu's goal is to help others avoid the same financial mistakes he made. This is the thing that I read about him that I really liked, to help people come out of that mistakes that he made before. So the direction is the right platform to bring him on. Financial mistakes he made before becoming financially responsible, and we're all striving towards that. Um, he focuses on new investors, women, uh, and um,
Minorities,
sorry,
particularly.
minorities who
Hmm.
needs an accountability partner. That's
Hmm.
lovely. He teaches on budgeting, debt management, investing in the stock market, tax strategies. He further teaches on mindset change required to build wealth. Dr. Boadu is also a board certified. Um, is it internist? Did I get it right?
Internal medicine.
Okay,
Yes.
internist and a cardiologist in training. He lives in
Hmm.
Tampa, Florida, with the family.
That's right.
People, you're all welcome. Dr. Charles, you're welcome. This is a new relationship I found, and I'm ready to learn. Talk to us.
Thank you, Kaiser. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful platform. I've listened to some of the episodes and I've really been blessed. I
Mm.
actually listened to the last one and the gentleman happens to be a doctor and now is in full-time ministry. So that
Yep,
I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So thank you for this opportunity and I'm really here to share. I really like how you opened it. Every day is an opportunity to learn. I mean, you can learn from a baby, you can learn from a child, you can learn from everyone. So yeah, I'm also here, I'm sharing what I know, what I've experienced, and I'm also here to take it all in and learn with you all.
yep, yep. So um, let's cut to the chase, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to money, I know it's a very huge subject. Um, we all want to make enough in life. We all want to make some money. We all want to um, um, create wealth, um,
Correct.
accumulate wealth, preserve wealth. But sometimes we live in the realm of not enough.
Hmm.
Sometimes we live in the realm of just enough. But in these two places, we all want to go to the level of more than enough when it comes to money. So please tell us or talk to us on it, like preserving money growing money,
Mhm.
how you want to take it before we even go into any other further questions that we have.
That's good. We're starting. We're going right in.
Yeah.
So like you stated, yes, of course, when you start building wealth, there's the accumulation phase, right? So this is when, you may have finished school, or may have started a business. You are actually earning some income, right? So this is when you're accumulating wealth. So at this point is when you have to take some risks,
Mm,
right? So, although you have to take risk, I mean, you don't have to take crazy risk, right? It's
yeah.
risk that will really have you lose everything. You have to be putting some of the money away. And with me, I mean, you know, the stock market is the easiest way for you to put some of that money away, right?
Mm,
There's the barrier to entry is very low. All you have to do is open these accounts. I mean, you can even start with your 401k. And most
okay.
jobs provide that, right? Even if you're an entrepreneur, you can set up what's called a SEP IRA or a solo 401k. You can still have a 401k to invest, right? And then there are many other accounts, the Roth, the taxable accounts, the HSAs and all that, high yield savings accounts. You can, of course, there's levels, right? So in the accumulation phase, that's what you need to do. Of course, you have to take care of risk. You're not supposed to be putting your money in, stocks that you know nothing about, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be, getting into these business ventures that may not, we all take risks, but I mean, come on, if someone's saying, you can, I don't know, build wells in some country and make money from that, it may sound like a pipe dream, right? So you got to be careful. And then, of course, once you've accumulated the wealth, now it gets to a stage where you have to preserve it, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's also a period of that. And this is usually when you're getting closer to retirement and even in retirement, right? But there's also a phase where I think you get to a point where now you have to give some of the money away,
Mm,
right? So how I teach to basically how to handle money, right? You make the money, all right? You spend it, you invest some, and then you give some away.
okay.
That's just, I
Mhm.
mean, that's all you can do. You can't take it with you. Let's
That's
be
true.
honest. You can't take it with you, right? We came here with nothing. We're gonna leave with nothing.
That's true.
But there's, I believe God has given everyone a purpose, right? There's a reason why you're here, right? And when it comes to money, to focus on the topic, you have to be a good steward of money,
Okay.
right? If you're a Christian and you spend money anyhow, I believe it's in the Bible, it's a sin. If you're just wasting and squandering money, you're sin. It's a sin,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be a good steward, and not to get winded here. We look at the story of the talents in Matthew 25,
Mhm.
right? You look at the one who got the most, doubled it. The next person also doubled it. The one who received one, he went to hide it. You, the one with the least, and this goes about the topic of accumulation, being in that, you're saying you don't have as much, right? You want to get more, but then you want to live in abundance. A lot of us live in this scarcity mindset. And it's like, if I don't hold on to it, I'm not going to be able to grow my money. If you hold on to the money, you can't grow it. I'm sorry. It just
Mm,
doesn't work that way, right? For money to multiply, you have to put it to work. And the servant that had one and went to hide it, he went back and it was just one. And we know what the master said to him, right? You wicked servant. You literally, that he said you're a greedy man, you harvest where
yeah.
you have not planted and all that. And it's like he said, if you knew that, you should have given it to the bankers. At least I would have earned some
I would
interest
have.
on my money.
Yeah.
Right. So that means if we have money as Christians and we're not using the money to make more money, it's a sin. We're being wicked.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
It's so profound. I think most Christians just kind of, you blind over it and it's like, oh, prayer, prayer, pray. Prayer is good. But to me, the Bible says Abraham obeyed and it was counted to him as righteousness. So you got to obey first before you do the kabe kabe. You can pray all you want. If you're not obeying, trust me, God is not even listening to your prayers, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
It's yeah.
so
That's
that
that's
that's that that's what I would say about that.
okay. I mean, it boils down to like what you're saying, like having or becoming or living in that place where you live a balanced life, you know. And I really agree with you on that. It's something that sometimes we can um decide to, if I can say, sometimes you can just close our eyes and be like, okay, this part doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
but
I think that's what most Christians do, right? It's like,
yeah,
oh, money. I remember I was talking to someone about, I think, because I'm so engrossed in this topic, even at work, I talk to people about it. And at one time, I was talking to someone and there was a girl sitting next to us. And I was telling her how, about a Roth IRA, you need to open this account, this how you do it and all that. And this person literally cringed and she just walked away. I said, wow, just talking about money makes you cringe. I mean, that's just the way I think in her mindset, you're not supposed to talk about money in public. And that's what we do. Money's a taboo topic, right? It's like, oh no, 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 this is my personal, this is my indoor issue.
yeah,
But if you don't learn about what you don't know, I think we should be more free about it. Because a lot of people, people are struggling, right? You go to work every day, you are struggling, you are hustling. And when it comes to learning about it, you don't want to learn about it.
don't, that is that
That's
that
a huge mistake.
that is very true. Yeah, I'm just like really taking my mind back to that line of statement that you just made. Like we want to make it, we go to work every now and then
Mm,
trying to make
mm.
it, but to learn about it, we don't want to. And that's a problem. Seriously. Yeah. And that's yeah, that's a problem. So when we want to talk about or let me put it this way, becoming a good steward of money.
Mhm.
How do you tackle that? How does one become a good steward of money? And we have people all over. I mean, people who have logged in right now from different part of the world and all that.
Mhm.
Some may know what Roth IRA is, 401k. Some may not even know. But
Right.
I think becoming a good steward of money cuts across. So
Correct.
I'll really be grateful if you can share some powerful lessons along those lines with us. That would be a blessing to us. Yeah.
Amen. So, I mean, like you said, money is universal, right? So, being a good steward of your money means you know literally where every dollar goes,
Okay.
right? And the number one thing starts with budgeting.
Okay.
There's no excuse with that. You
Mhm.
can you can be, I mean, think about it. Someone told me once, businesses budget, right? They make projections, right? They sit down, they have the accountants work out the numbers. And if you listen to a stock call, an
Mhm.
earnings call, they'll tell you, okay, this is how much money we make last quarter. This is what we're projecting to make next quarter, right? This is how much debt we have. This is how much free cash flow we have, right? And you, an individual, yours is on a smaller scale, so you're making, I don't know, $50,000, if you're in Ghana, you're making, comparable to that, right? Whatever you're making, you're in Europe, whatever. That's yours. That's the resource God has given you. Now you have to account for, so how much am I going to spend on housing? How much am I going to spend on my other fixed expenses, right? And then how much am I going to spend on investing or saving? And then how much am I going to spend?
Mhm.
Right? It's so I use something called the 50-25-25 rule. Some people say 60-20-20 rule, it's all 100%, right? So however you want to divvy it up. But once your fixed cost is around 50%, if you can even lower it to 40%, somebody maybe 30%, the rest, now you can break it up. Okay, I'm gonna invest the other 30, and then whatever's left, I'm gonna spend. So that's universal. That's across the board. Unfortunately, yes, of course, there may be some people who just, because the income is limited, maybe you may have, a big family. It may be a little difficult to save and invest, right? But do the best you can, right?
Yeah.
Do the best you can. I've heard stories. I listened to a podcast about this man of God and his wife. I believe they had just come from Ghana, and they talk about how, when they first started, you know, um, the I believe the husband was working and the wife was not. And eventually she was schooling and she finished. And how they put their money together, they joined their money together. When they
Mm.
saw other people upgrading their lives, they bought cars. So maybe the people bought luxury cars. They decided to stay in their little Toyota, a Corolla, right? But then within a few years, they had a house. These people who had these luxury cars did not have a house. They were rather asking them, "Hey, how were you able to afford a house?" And then they told them, right? But of course, people do whatever they want,
Mm.
right? It comes back to sacrifices. You have to be willing to make some sacrifices, right? You may not make it as much, but whatever you can put down for a rainy day, that's the money that you can invest with, right? So even if you can even save 5% of your income, put that money to work. If you're in the States, put that money in the stock market. You can save it up if you like real estate and, buying houses is your thing. Gradually, you can have enough to put down on a down payment if you want to rent the house, however you want to build wealth, but you have to be doing something.
Wow.
No one is excused.
Mm.
All right. We're all
No,
stewards.
yeah, that's also a very good I mean point that you just shared right there, because if most of the time, like, some of us sometimes live in a realm where everything that we make, we either end up spending or
Hmm.
everything that we make,
Hmm.
we end up using all to pay either bills or something, right? And what was the percentage that you mentioned again?
So it at the end of the day is 100%, but 50% should be going to your fixed costs. I mean, that's because that's just the usual norm, right? Because
Okay.
housing is always a huge component of your budget. That's just the way it is. If you have a mortgage, you're likely going to be spending anywhere from 30% to 25 to 30% of your income going towards a mortgage or rent. The rest, of course, your bills, your electricity, all your utilities, right?
Yeah.
Gas for work and things like that, right? So if you're able to put 50% towards fixed costs, the other 50, now you can break it up however you want. If you want to do 25-25, hey, for me, I teach, doctors, some people have higher incomes. You can invest 30% and still spend 20% because your income is so high enough that, that excess income is more. All right. So 20% for someone making $500,000 is a lot of money. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. 20% to someone making 100,000 is 20,000.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just the way it is. It's ratios. All right.
Okay. Wow. That's so true. Now, still on preservation of money or making money. I just, because the time is very short for us, and we just have like 30 minutes to go. But
Mhm.
I want us to look at it in this way. And it also can cut across to people living in different regions, different countries. If you can share with us, like, I want us to look at it in three ways: making
Mhm.
money, holding money, and growing money. So
Mhm.
in your own way, like, I know you teach a lot of people when it comes to um, stuff like that. When it comes to making money, what are some of the ways that you can probably share with us, before maybe we'll go to like holding the money and growing the money? Then yeah,
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, the for the bulk of us, we probably went to, have some degree, some form of education, right? And we're working in the corporate, trying to get up on that corporate ladder. So I mean that would be you have to find a skill. That's just, I mean, that is, even Paul was a tent maker, right? He
yeah,
he knew how to make money, right? Jesus, he did some carpentry, right? His dad, Joseph, was a
yeah,
carpenter, and I'm sure he learned the trade, and there are ways to make money,
yeah,
right? You go to Ghana, you have the boys, who sell stuff on the street. Like, you can hustle, you can make some
yeah,
money, right? But for now, obviously, in this realm that we're in, most of us are maybe professionals. You may have some degree, you may have a corporate career, or even if you have to work on, let's
yeah.
say you're
Side hustle or whatever that
yeah,
they call it.
whatever you're doing, right? You
Yeah,
you you do earn some income. So, and also if you want to be a business owner, I mean, there's an idea that you have, like for my, I have different types of income because, I have different interests. As a physician, I make money, all right, from there. Of course, with my coaching, I also make money that way. I
yeah,
have other ways to make money to moonlight as a physician as well. So there's like different streams, right? So
yeah.
however you're able to make money, and we all know ways to make money as long as it's legal,
Yeah.
right? So find the skill, right? Perfect it, be the best at it, right? And provide value, and the income will come, right? So making the money, I think, I don't want to say it's simple, but we all know how to make money.
How to make money? Yeah.
I've been working since I was 14. I remember when I first came to this country, my first job, I worked at a library. We used to put the books back and all that. You made minimum wage, right? But you made some money. In the
Yeah.
summers, we did something called summer youth. You may be a camp, counselor or whatever. You made money. So eventually, you know how much you make over the summer. You accumulate a couple thousand, and unfortunately, we didn't know about investing and growing money, so we spent it all.
That's
Right?
that's powerful.
And
Yeah.
speaking of mistakes, I mean, we'll get there, but that's some of the mistakes we made. We didn't have this knowledge. It's so sad that the thing with when it comes to money, right, and growing money, that's the next
Mhm.
step, right? It takes time and compounding interest, right? So the thing with compounding is that your money makes money, right, for you. So and then it basically keeps exponentially growing. Your money keeps making money, so
Yeah.
it takes a long time for that money to keep growing. So now imagine over 25 years ago, if I had, been doing that, who knows my
That's
nest egg
true.
what it would be right now. Of course, you're young, you wanna spend some, but if you just invested maybe 25% of that, right?
That's true. That
So
is
those are
very
part of the
true.
mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I really agree with you. Like, when it comes to knowledge about some of those things, like one of the biggest areas that personally I have um, come to learn when it comes to growing and making money, just like you said, is don't underestimate any skill that you've learned that you can put into practice, even if you have a job that you're doing or
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
calling that you have. Because
Yep.
a lot of people here, there are a lot of things that you can do from the comfort of your home that can make you some money.
Yep.
And just like you also said, sometimes it's not about making the money, but the next thing that we'll be talking about, the growing of it, which I know you're an expert of that area too. And when it comes to technicalities and all that, I remember one of the days I and I've said it here before. One of the places that I go that I buy things at a good price, things that I
Hmm.
don't see around when it comes to especially books, is
Mm.
the thrift store.
Mm.
A thrift store. So recently I was there and I picked up this book.
So international investment. Mm.
And I picked this book for $1. And when I said to myself, like, there are tons of stuff in this that every day, if I learn a word, it will improve my life. And I've started that, like, right. And I'm trying. Some of them I don't understand, but I try to even read it though and find ways of like applying it. Like, there are tons of books about money that I bought from the thrift store, and I'll openly say, like, I bought it from the thrift, and I'm like, wow, I've been looking for this for a
That's
long
that
time.
I'm gonna keep. I haven't thought of that, but
You see,
I'll start doing that.
I I went there recently. I was looking for a particular book which I didn't find, but I ended up chancing on this. I bought this set of book by Mike Meddock, all of them
Mm.
for $1 each. Like,
All you need is the information. It doesn't have to be pretty.
so the prayer is good, but I realized that, like, in some of these books, like, I saw it and
Mhm.
I checked and I was like, these books are very expensive somewhere. But when I go to the money session too, the same thing. I collect some of
Mhm.
those books to try and sit down to learn it. And going through most of them, I've come to realize that, just like you said, you have to find ways, or we all know how to make money. But when we do it, how do we grow it? And that's the
Correct.
main reason for this meeting, right?
Yep.
How we grow the money itself. Um, if you can speak to us about growing your money. So let's talk, we're talking about making it, which we all know how to make money. Either your skill, somebody will say either by your skill, by your anointing, or by your education.
That's right.
You make
Yep.
money. But when
Yep.
you make it, how do you grow it? What are some of the ways that people can grow their money, or how we can grow our money to be a blessing to us?
That's a great question. So, like, I'm sure the first, like I said, the lowest barrier of entry is the stock market.
Hmm?
If you live in the States, all right.
Okay.
In different parts of the world, like Ghana, I think ways to increase your money, to grow your money, will be real estate. All right. Now there's cryptocurrency, and that's another way, because now that it spreads across the world, right? You can buy Bitcoin wherever you are. Yeah, it may take some time for you to actually increase, the
Yeah.
amount that you have, but there's that, right? So speaking of the stock market, easiest way to start is with that 401k, the employer sponsored account.
Okay.
Great thing with that account is that your employer usually matches whatever you put in, from
Yeah.
3 all the way up to about 10 to 12%, right?
Mm.
Whatever you put in, they match it. So you're basically getting 100% return on your money. You don't get that in the stock market easily.
Yeah.
So if you don't take advantage of that, you're literally leaving money on the table,
Mm.
right? You're leaving money on it because they're matching you 100%. Where would you get that? Just last year, the S&P returned about 26%, I believe, right? It's not easy to come up 100%, right? So you start there, the employer sponsored account, easiest way to start. Now, after that, there are accounts that you can open to further invest, right? So you start with the employer. So what I usually do is start with the match, whatever they're matching. So if it's 5%, you put 5% and they match it. Now you have to move on to the other accounts, right? There's something called a Roth IRA. This is an individual retirement account. You open it by yourself. You can go anywhere to any of these custodians, Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, whichever one is your pick, whichever you like. Go there, click open account, click Roth IRA, and anyone with a job, anyone with income can open this account. The maximum that you can put in that account is $7,000. You put that money in, but then don't forget to invest that money. One trick, one easy asset to buy is the S&P 500. If
Mm.
you remember, this is VOO. That's it. Type in VOO and just click buy. If you just do that over the long term, 20, 25 years, I can guarantee you'll be a millionaire.
Mm. Mm.
That's all you do. If you're able to put upwards of $500 a month into that account, you will be a millionaire. If you like, put it in a compounding calculator. And the return, usually the S&P 500 has returned 10% over the last 100 years, right? So 10% compounded over 25 years is basically $1 million. Right now, there are other accounts. There's something called the HSA. This is a health savings account. This account is for healthcare expenses, right? So the maximum for a family, I believe, is 8,500. If you're a single person, is 4,100. So you put money in there as well, and then you invest the same way. Now, if you get a health expense, you can sell some of the investments and then use it for that. But what most people are doing is they're just investing in that account, and when they retire, now that account they're using as a healthcare account, right? Because
Yeah.
now you're not really paying anything. You need something, you take a check and sell some investments, and then use that for your healthcare, right? Now there's another account called the taxable account, which is like a free fall. There's no limit. Remember the Roth IRA, you're limited to 7K. HSA, you're limited to about 4K. If individual, family, 800, 8,300. Now the taxable, you can put whatever you need to put in there, right? Of course, speaking, it's how much you have left, right? Speaking of the ratios, a 50, 25, 25. If what you can do is up to the Roth IRA, fine. Keep doing that. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. Right? I always tell people, it's like whatever you're making, if you can sacrifice that, put some away. There was a story where there was someone who worked at the mail. He was a mailman. When he died, he had over $3 million.
Wow.
This is someone who works for USPS, United States Postal Service, making, I'm sure their income is
Even,
limited.
yeah.
He's not making 100K a year. Let's be honest, right? Had a family, raised kids, and all that, right? He had over $3 million. So because he put his money to work, right? If
Yeah.
I believe he said all he did was buy the major companies, the 10 major companies, every month. Right. That's really how I would say it so for someone in the US, start there. Now, if you like real estate, if there are all these, flippers out there, I always say start with the stock market because it's easier to get into. Then you can branch off once if you want to take some risk, you can branch off into real estate. save some money for a down payment. You could buy a property, put a renter in there, right? Collect your rent, let that property appreciate. You can always do, take the equity out of it eventually, maybe buy another property, right? Keep doing that. Some people like real estate because they can touch and feel it, right? They
Yeah.
see the building, they feel more secure, all right? Which is fine, but you got to be willing, that it's going to be, it can get a little tumultuous, like now in my market anyway, it's a buyer's market, right?
Yeah.
So if you're buying something, property values are going down, all right? Because people see there's so many houses, it's hard to
Mhm.
sell your house, all right?
Yeah.
So that's something you got to live with, all right? Yeah, and of course, you can always start a business, all right? You have an idea, you have a skill that you want to, like this coaching. If that's what, of course, I'm a physician. I want to perfect I love being a physician, to be honest, right? But I feel like this is another calling that I've been put on this earth to really educate people about about money, right? So that's something that moving forward, I intend to do more of, right? So if you want to start a business, go ahead, form that LLC and get out there and share your skills with people. And of course, you're going to make money that way as well.